here, sir, also known as the Grasshopper.
I am Kendrick. I am the Bear. What's good? What's the good word, LeRoy? The machine.
Not too much. Everything's going good. How are you guys?
Oh, man. Good to be alive. Great. Good to be talking with you, kind sir. Man, let's get right to it. You were an athlete when you were younger in high school. At what point did you want to start powerlifting? What encouraged you to start powerlifting?
Just wanted to get stronger. Just wanted to improve in all different areas. I don't think back in the day, I don't think anyone ever really said I want to just be a powerlifter. It was kind of it's something you were brought into as just by byproduct of being an athlete, whether it was football, wrestling. It just happened to be one of the strength programs at the school I went to, and a lot of schools happen to use at the time.
Okay. And I know sometimes some people are naturally strong and some people have to work a little harder for it. Would you say that, what category would you say that you fall? I mean, work is involved regardless, but would you say that it came naturally to you and you had to cultivate it, or were you not very strong and you worked up to it? How did that play out for you at the beginning?
I think it was, it's hard to say. I think there's always been a level of strength there. It was just a matter of like harnessing it and cultivating it and learning how to make it transfer over into. I think everybody has a good amount of strength. It's just a matter of how well you can measure it.
Okay.
And that's what I think. I think that's what the process and that's what the matrix of powerlifting is. I mean, there's a lot to say. For example, my grandfather, he's an extremely just all around strong person. I think we all know people that sometimes we might use their term country strong, but if they're not trained or versed in how to do the lifts on which you extract and measure that level of strength, then it's kind of comparing apples to oranges.
Okay. Now, it's interesting that you mentioned your grandfather, because I was going to ask, in terms of you getting into it, was there a person, somebody that was influential in terms of nurturing or cultivating that desire within you, or somebody that you, aside of your grandfather, somebody that you seen that was strong that made you want to push even more?
I think I had an uncle that was a more kind of a bodybuilder that introduced me to sets and reps and, how to work out. But as far as anyone that really inspired me or pushed me, I would say not really. It was all kind of self-taught. As far as there would be different, people I would look at in different, athletes. But I think for the most part, to be driven and competitive, it was just all self-taught.
Okay. And it's interesting. I would imagine to a degree that kind of changes, like in terms of technology and what we have available. Back when you started doing what you do and what you've done, it's like there was no internet, and it's like now for somebody, somebody that may be getting it off into it now, they can Google people. Or I know for myself, my first exposure to you was Strength Cartel on the CT Fletcher collaboration. And that's the first time I've ever seen anybody move that much weight on incline, you know what I mean? And it was, but that's something that I wouldn't have been able to see, 10, 15 years ago to the extent that we can now, with technology. So,
definitely.
Good stuff. Something that I really admire as well, two things with you, when you'll show your successes and how you get those lifts, but you've also shown some of your fails. And I feel like that's really inspirational, because it's like, you do what you've done. I think we all that have talents get, we get caught up in it, not in a negative sense, but we're used to it because it's been a part of us for so long. But for somebody that wants to get strong and they feel like they can't, and they may just be discouraged, they see somebody like you, and you do some of the amazing things that you do, and you show a fail. It's like, man, well, this guy is unbelievably strong and he has a fail, he's showing a fail. So if he has times where he may not have been able to do it, maybe I can. So I think that's really cool that you do that, that you've done that. And also, it's almost like you reinvent yourself in the things that I've observed have been exposed to, once, you still, everything you do, you still do, but it's like once upon a time, I would see you doing a lot of bench, and then there were the super heavy dumbbell rows, the heavy barbell rows, and then the strict curls. So it's like you always kind of changing it up. Just that. Yeah. And I think that's really cool.
I still do a lot of everything. And I mean, I'll go through different training cycles while I have a different emphasis. And I would just say I've been learning to be more, I would call it almost a master of sleight of hand, because I get this all the time. I always get hit up till this day. Why don't you ever do legs? And I'm like, my legs, like, here's a great example. I'll have people that will swear up and down and say to my face, like, I could go out and post a video rowing, no straps, rowing 500 pounds for 5 reps, and I'll still get someone that says I could have deadlift 600 pounds if my life depended on it, because I don't post it. That's the thing. I think I love technology and I love social media. You know, and there's two different things, and we always hear people talk about it. We always hear, one, people are so quick to talk about stuff and say stuff online and type stuff that they would never say to your face. And
absolutely,
people are
Totally.
so quick to like want to just, you know, the old proverbial, oh, if it's not on video, it didn't happen. Well, I get almost the opposite of that, because people think, like, because I don't post it, I don't do it. I'm like, my sponsors and my following, I don't think for the most part, my true followers, because I've said it so many times, I leg press, I squat, I deadlift to maintain. I don't do it to be on a competitive level. But just because I don't show it doesn't mean I don't do it. I go out on dates. I've had girlfriends. I've had so much other stuff that people would assume doesn't exist because I don't show it. I'm just the type of person, I'm going to be very selective in what I do and don't show. But just because I don't show it doesn't mean I don't do it.
Absolutely.
I think that's the biggest common misconception about my training is people assume if I don't show something, it's because I don't do it. No, I just don't have a passion to show every aspect of training.
Sure. And that's understandable. I mean, that's your right as a competitor and doing what you do. And it's interesting because, okay, you've done the things that you've done and you do it consistently. People always have something to say, man. Just always. You know, you could be the world's strongest man and they find some kind of source of negativity for them in it. And ultimately, I believe it's because some people are unhappy, man, and they want to perpetuate that somehow into the life of somebody else that's doing what they do and they're good at it. So, you know,
I'll laugh at it. I'll throw it right back. Like, I'll purposely, it's one of those things I always consider the source. Like, I always, like today, every other couple of days, I'll go back and forth. More so as far as what I accept and what I feed off of and what I troll or whatever back. I'll give you an example, like 3 different platforms. YouTube. Okay. No offense to YouTubers, I just absolutely despise the commentary or commentary that you get from the YouTube following, just because one, it's probably the most disingenuous. It's the most probably uneducated as far as, when I say uneducated, I'm not saying YouTuber followers or YouTubers are dumb. I'm saying it's the most, they lack the most comprehension of what they are seeing. People are so quick to want to type out and fire off a comment, and they lack comprehension. Now, if I go to someone's page or if I go to a channel, if I'm watching a video, I'm going to first try to verse myself more in what I'm watching before I frivolously make a comment, whether it's good or bad, because I think comprehension is key to so much stuff and understanding from a better viewpoint than whatever your realm of understanding is currently. But I think so many people just lack, I guess, the desire to self-educate or be smarter or more versed in areas they're not. So, with that being said, I have no passion, no desire to really make, nor have I had the team in place or I've never really wanted to be a YouTuber or really just grow that platform. And then I would say the next tier up from that is probably TikTok. And then from there, I think what I think the truest form was for me, anyways, is my IG following. My IG following usually is because people have to go out of the way to follow you. Now, you'll have some people who follow you just to hate you, but for the most part, my followers are pretty versed in powerlifting, pretty versed in strength stuff. And, sometimes when a video goes viral or stuff, then it's out of control because it's obviously gone past what your immediate audience is. So I've learned to limit my frustration or allowing myself to really get so caught up, because I try to engage all of my audiences. So with IG, I'll put the controls on only people I follow or followers can comment. And if that's the case, if someone's not a follower, then I really don't care what their opinion is anyway. So
Right.
if they want to go out of the way to comment, all right, you're going to have to like, and you're also going to have to follow,
Right.
you know, my page. You're not just
Right.
going to be able to come and randomly scroll and, okay, let me go to this guy's page and hate just because I have nothing to do for the day.
Right.
And even then, TikTok, for the long, I'll always go back and forth. Like sometimes I'll just turn off all comments.
Mhm.
And then sometimes I'll allow comments just to kind of gauge and see what people are thinking. But for the
Right.
most part, I always tell, because I have a lot of friends, powerlifters, that get so frustrated. I'm like, well, one, you got to consider the source. I don't think, and I'm trying to get my thoughts together. I almost think the algorithm and the way TikTok works, it's almost like they want their followers to be just shocking off 15 seconds of fame. I think they almost want their followers to be stupid. In a sense, not stupid like I'm calling people out, but in the sense that you can't articulate anything meaningful in 150 characters. Do you guys TikTok at all?
We're just barely getting started. We gotta we have an
Warming
account, and we're gonna start making videos soon.
Okay, I'm gonna explain myself. I don't do TikTok challenges. I'm not like in it for the music aspect of it. I'm in it primarily for the aspect that I believe in. Like I have different people I look up to. I don't want to call them mentors, but say for example, Gary Vee. I believe that from a business standpoint and for the price point, you can't afford to not do advertising or some type of presence on TikTok. And two, I believe that if I'm going to build myself as a brand and companies I work with, even though the target audience might be way below my demographic, eventually they're going to have buying power. They're going to want to be power lifters or be stronger. And, you know, they're going to grow and mature. So with that, so it's almost like catch them while they're young. So if I can, you know, start to tap into this younger generation and start to get my content out there, because people my age, 40, the 30-somethings kind of like know who I am. The 40-somethings are my age. The 50-somethings saw me when I was up and coming. So I want to tap into that younger generation. Therefore, TikTok is a good platform to do it. However, my thoughts on TikTok, I wish they would be more lenient, not lenient, but I wish they would allow more characters in the commentary or the caption, because I mean, let's face it, if you're learning TikTok, your first 100 characters have to be the bullshit that they mic you put on there. Right. So it gets, you know, for your page, follow for follow. There's so many bullshit hashtags you have to put on TikTok just so it catches and gets seen in the algorithm. Then you might want to tag a couple people. So you pretty much only got enough characters to say, this is a heavy bench press video, or this is a curl video. You can almost, so I can't really get mad at the stupidity that I see in the comment section because you don't have enough characters to explain the content that you're putting out there. You know, it almost allows you, so you can't do any kind of tutorial unless you're going to verbally tell people on the audio side of what you're going to do.
Okay. Yeah. I would imagine at some point, you know, what you said, what you've experienced with it, you can't be the only person that feels that way. So maybe they do something about it. But I mean, you know how it is.
At the same time, I volunteered to be on that platform. So there's good and bad. Now, how much I participate and how much leverage I'm going to put my content and my brand to be leveraged on that platform, that's up for me to determine. But for the most part, I kind of like, okay, I'm just going to put shock and awe content on TikTok. I'm going to put more in-depth and more day-to-day stuff because I feel the audience on IG, they are more vested into myself and my brand. Okay. Makes sense. What, would you, now I can't remember if you said, forgive me if you did, but what would you say is so IG would be your favorite platform in terms of engaging your supporters and the things that you post? Yeah, I would say on a day-to-day basis, I would say number one is IG. Number two, ironically, and this is by default, and this is 100% business, I would say is Facebook. Only because I always try to give back, and anything I've learned, I try to pay it forward. So I would say for the younger generation or the people out there really trying to grow your platform, you got to understand, there's a couple quick little, gems or whatever you want to call them that I'll give you. Yeah. most people don't, I would say a vast amount of people don't understand the way the platforms work as far as the algorithm. Facebook owns Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So when you make an IG, I found it's very helpful to grow your page and grow your audience. Join Facebook groups. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. Just find groups like, say, for example, powerlifting, heavy bench press only. I created a page, a fan page, greatest bench presses and curl videos ran by myself. I think it has like 5,600 followers. Now, the reason you want to do something like that is because Facebook owns Instagram. The algorithm reads each other. So you can you can copy and paste the URL from an IG post, go to a Facebook group, paste it in there, and it still rewards the IG algorithm when it gets shared. The comments don't transfer over, but the clicks and all that stuff transferred over. So when you see some of these pages on Instagram and it's like viral, has 300,000, 500,000, a million views, chances are it went viral because it was shared a lot on Instagram, and it was also crossed over and shared on some type of way on Instagram. Now, however, YouTube is a Google. YouTube's owned by Google. So when you post, for the longest time, up until I think a year or two ago, you could post when you go, it's even now, when you go to the comment section, if you try to, because I'll troll people with this all the time. Someone will say, did you see so-and-so do something on Facebook? Or not on Facebook, but on YouTube. Like they'll say, have you seen the Hulk smash video on YouTube? Nope, never seen it. What are you talking about? Who's that guy? And then they'll go to post, they'll post the link, but it won't post live. You know what I'm talking about? In the comment section. So you can't click on it because Instagram has nothing to do with YouTube. So they don't want their Instagram followers to cross over.
Take the traffic away.
Some places on Instagram where you can make it live and you can go off there, but for the most part, the two don't read each other. So therefore, I don't ever try to take my IG content and carry it over and post it on YouTube or vice versa. Because the content, I've had videos that do tremendously well on IG, and then they do nothing on YouTube, and vice versa. I've had some stuff that's gone viral on YouTube, and then you try to take 30 seconds or 15 seconds of the same footage and put it on IG. It's just because the two audiences are looking for almost two different things.
That also, but then too, because they're competitive, because what happens is Facebook wants to keep you on Facebook and keep you on IG. So I know I've seen it myself. If I share a video, if I put that YouTube link in my Facebook, the views are so low, and it's on purpose, because if it's taking you away from Facebook, they don't want anything to do with it. But it sounds like, man, you take a marketing class or something. It sounds like you work some things out to a good science in terms of how you do your marketing for your brand. And that is it experiential?
Yes and no, because I think you got to be anything you're gonna do for yourself. How you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah, sure. That's one of my favorite sayings, LeRoy. I say that all the time.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So no one's just gonna sign, and that's the thing. People think once you get strong or once you get famous, people are just gonna cut you checks. It don't work that way. You got to get out there. You eat what you kill in this business. So, it is primarily a business, and I always want to remind people, as much as I love to put stuff up there, there's a business purpose behind it. So, I've had great mentors. I've had I want to shout out to Todd Abrams. Shout out to a lot of the Icon athletes, Michael Hearn. A lot of people don't know this, but the Icon team, Icon, Todd Abrams is the owner, CEO of Icon Meals, which is probably one of the biggest premier meal prep companies in America. And he has a lot of athletes, and he is super proficient at putting together mindset seminars where he'll bring in people like he'll bring in like a Gary Vee type, he'll bring in like a Bedros, other heavy, big hitting influencers that will teach stuff. Brandon Myers, we teach people, hey, here's how you grow your social media. Here's how you do a marketing strategy. Here's how you do a funnel system. Here's how you set up your online business. So it's kind of like y'all all see the meme where 50 Cent's like, I didn't go to Harvard, but I don't have to have gone to Harvard and have a Harvard degree, but I can hire people who did. Same philosophy. You get a room full of talented people. People are going to barter. People are going to exchange ideas, exchange information. So I'm so fortunate because so many other business ventures and stuff that I've been able to link into, tap into, have come by ways of being part of that team. And then it's strong. It just only grows exponentially, grows stronger from there.
Okay.
So nice. That's one of the things I tell a lot of viewers. If you're trying to get in this fitness game as an influencer, and it's funny because I just saw this talked about the other day, it's all about relationships. You have to grow and maintain relationships. And I think you have to offer not just great substance, you have to offer value. So many people will want to link up and find someone like, hey, they see, for whatever reason, they want to go into a deal, they want to go to a business venture, and they don't maybe understand it, but they don't look and operate from the standpoint that whatever they're doing at the time is very self-serving.
Sure.
When I go to a situation, I always go and I almost feel like everything is I feel it's kind of like, I call it the hustle and flow approach. I think every time I go into a business venture, like regardless if I have a bigger social media or whatever the case may be, I go into it like everything I do, this is my fucking first time demo reel. Like I gotta prove who I am, and I gotta prove my worth, because I think you always want to show the value of what you bring to the table.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of businesses have this misconception that, oh, this person has 500,000 followers. If we link up with them, we're going to get instant sales, instant views. It don't work that way because, and vice versa. So that's why I'm proud of, the less than 60K followers I have, because they're all organic. However, their buying power is great, and they're super, it's almost like a super laser focus group. My 60,000 strong is super strong in the buying power of anything that has to do with powerlifting, bench press, strength curl, anything that I'm affiliated with. It's almost like my followers are like 500 or 1 million, because they'll get out there in masses and understand why it is I'm endorsing a certain product. Versus you have other influencers who have the biggest following in the world, but they're just following because they like their abs. But they have nothing to do with the kind of training or anything else that they're doing. So when they endorse, hey, try this product, it's almost like it's falling on deaf ears, because those people aren't vested in the lifestyle.
Right. It's a good point. In terms of, with because I have, mentors as well. And it's different. It's funny because certain things that you said buzz with me, because, in terms of, like you said, adding value, 3 or 4 of my mentors
like
say that.
Snoop is Snoop, and maybe he's a bad example, but Snoop has like a bazillion followers. So
absolutely.
Snoop, and maybe Snoop's too big to use an example, but say for example, I follow Snoop because I like Snoop's music. Now, he might work with a company like Backwoods, who's going to endorse him because of what they do. Now, however, I might be, out of 20 million followers, I might follow the 10 million followers that isn't going to give 2 cents or 2 F's about a backwood, because I don't blaze, I don't smoke. But to the other 10 million that are in that realm, are 420 friendly, that might be the perfect person. You know what I mean? But you might, but a company might be more in love, and I've seen this happen. And this is why I tell people, don't get discouraged. You might have a company like, say, Backwoods might be super in love with Snoop because he's got 20 million. And they might sleep on someone like Cypress Hill. But from a business standpoint, I would take Cypress Hill and their 10 million followers, because their followers are probably 99% 420 friendly versus half of Snoop's demographic. You know what I mean? So it's stuff like that. But whatever the case may be, you have to bring value to the audience and to the person that you're working with, because so many people go into a situation like, man, what's this going to do for me? How's this going to help me? I think anytime you go into something with the I or me mentality, you're already losing. And the thing is, you're going to be too stupid to realize you're already losing.
And ultimately, you'll crash and burn, sure enough. What are in terms of influencers, like you were saying, even with relationships? That's again something else I've heard many times. It's a book I read years ago, How to Win Friends and Influence People. You know, it was just people of that time that were massively successful were interviewed, and they asked, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but they asked him, what would he attribute his success to if it were one thing? And he said his relationships with people. I mean, and it makes all the sense in the world, because it's like, at the end of the day, for the most part, if somebody like you, they'll do business with you, they'll want to help you, different things like that, you know. So I've seen that work in my own life, and I'm sure you have.
I'll preach that all day long, especially with both of y'all. I ask this question jokingly sometimes: are y'all married? Or are you happy? For right now, and if you're an entrepreneur in your own business, some people have had to learn this hard way. The number one people are like, oh, I gotta watch out for the stock market. I gotta watch out for crash. Maybe I might not need to go out there and buy crypto, or you know, I might need to rethink my business strategy because of COVID. No, it's about maintaining your relationships. Can I tell you the number one detrimental thing that can cut your business in half? Divorce. Yep,
pretty much.
I'm telling people, maintain your relationship. A divorce, a bad relationship, a bad breakup will do more to your business than people think or want to attribute it to, because they don't think of all aspects of business.
Absolutely. You hear that, Hive Dog? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. I remember when the pandemic hit and everything got closed down and shut down. I'm a boxing and kickboxing trainer for my job last 10 years. And I have a lot of my clients I've had for 10 years or more. And the ones I've had for 10 years or more, they didn't stop. Once we figured out what to do, we started training in the parks. They trained with me nonstop. So I wasn't out of work. I had they're like lifetime clients. So that saved me when the pandemic hit. That was that great. They're not even like, they're clients / family to me, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. And you hear people talking about it the other day. That's the quickest way a Fortune 500 goes to a Fortune 250.
Yeah.
You don't maintain them relationships.
Yeah. I mean, you look at what happened with
that's true.
You look at what happened with Jeff Bezos and with Bill Gates. I mean, so yeah, that's a valid point, man. And I've known Hobby for years, man. You know, we have a good solid friendship. My brother, man. You know what I'm saying? So, and we had a conversation about doing this. And we talk about it even now in terms of just it's built on the foundation of our friendship, our brotherhood, and our communication. So yeah, man, good stuff. Do you have people in your life that offer that support system within the sport of powerlifting and what you do and outside of it? You know, like for an example, if you had when you named off a few, in terms of that were influential, but so, okay, since you named some people that were within the realm of the sport, what about outside? Like I remember you talking about your grandfather and your uncle, but other people that, you can lean on, or that it's just that rock for you. Who are those? Exactly. Who are those people that are part of your support system?
I would say just people, just really good friends who, just friends, a couple of people from college. I still have a couple of really cool people in my circle from high school.
Nice.
Some I would say some relationships at some point. We've all had, and it's a big thing. We have, I think, just because someone might no longer be in your life as a friend doesn't mean you necessarily gain them as an enemy. And I think that's something that's so hard, especially with this day and age, because so many people are about on to the next, the new, what's new. People don't know how to maintain and just hold on to some of them people that are just going to be rioters, some of those people that are just going to be true. And then some people, because of the culture we live in, are quick to think because, your relationship might change. I catch heat from this one so much from men and females, and I think it's all a matter of perspective. My perspective is like, say, for example, one of my best friends till this day is my ex-wife, and a lot of people that really trips out a lot of people that hear that. I'm like, our relationship from a marital standpoint didn't work out for A, B, and C, and we're both fine with that. But A, B, and C might not have to do anything with E, D, and F. Like, we still work together on a great friendship, great advice. and we
That's
work
beautiful, man.
extremely well in business.
Yeah.
So I'm
Awesome.
not gonna mess off 2 or 3 other great aspects that's hard to find in people because the romance side of it's not there. And a lot of people, no, I can't talk to my ex. Well, that's just because you're closed-minded or whatever the case may be. And I'm not saying that there's never a good reason to not talk to an ex. Obviously, they're an ex for the reason, but your reason and my reason could be apples and oranges. I don't got to I don't have to react or handle a situation the same way you do because everything's a matter of perspective. My perspective on what went wrong or good or bad, I can live with, you know, the consequences, and I can live with the whatever reason is behind it. I'm okay with some of the stuff that went down. Other people, there's just things that they just can't ever get over, and I understand that aspect of it too. You know, but I think it's so funny that people are so sometimes in their own feelings, and they're so quick to want to latch out to other people, like they have to go save other people. I'm like, I get it, brother. You hate your ex-wife. She cheated on you. That doesn't mean I have to hate mine, because the reason my ex versus your ex, their exes for 2 totally different reasons. So I think sometimes people are too quick to put their own personal shortcomings, their own personal experience or perspective on a situation. And sometimes they go out there and they try to limit the world or their friends. Like I see this all the time. Like in my other personal business, I do. I've done protection work, and I've also done the consulting side for clubs and nightclubs and other ventures. And you all see this person, man, you don't want to buy that bottle service. I don't even drink that. Well, I might want to buy a bottle service for everybody else at the table. You are not my personal account. Quit trying to, like, you know what I mean? But you'll get people that will do that. They'll like, oh no, or you'll go out to a restaurant. Oh, that's way too much to spend on that steak. We ain't doing all that. No, you ain't doing that. I'm rocking with it.
They put their limitations on you, no doubt.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
You know, it carries over, and it's relative to this. I'll get some people like, no, I'm not doing like, man, if I had a dime for every comment I had to take down off that curl video the other day, I'll never go out there and curl 225. Preacher, you're just waiting to tear a bicep.
Oh my God.
No, it's all relative. There's things called warm up, time under tension, conditioning. There's a reason why stuff that breaks you won't break me, and vice versa. There's a lot of stuff that I see other people do, like, man, that's crazy. But I'm not going to go on someone's page and say that to their face.
No, not at all. Hey, that's respect. You know what I mean?
No,
it
is.
A way to talk
like,
to
I
people.
would look at what you guys do, man. That's hard. That's hard to do a podcast. Well, this is a bad example because I love public speaking, but I'm sure there's some people that see what you guys do and be like, man, I can't get up in front of people. I don't like my voice. And well, you know what? What you have to sometimes, you have to tackle the things that are hardest for you if you're ever going to level up.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
We talked about that when we started this, LeRoy. We don't like our voices either. There's aspects of ourselves we don't like, but we were just telling each other about it. But we're still doing this podcast. We don't care. We're just doing it. We're trying to do what we want to do, regardless of, you know, anything. So
I think it's just being comfortable in your own skin, and sometimes taking ownership. Like I'll troll myself. Sometimes I'll put out there like, God damn, I'm so motherfucking functionally fluffy and chubby, it almost works to my advantage. And I'll put it out there because I know, especially say, for example, on YouTube. On YouTube, I already know it don't matter. I can bench press. Like, I wish I could bench press like Julius. Julius sees this all the time. I've seen this all the time. If you're big or whatever, and you're not like Arnold Schwarzenegger or super aesthetic, people are always going to say, oh, it's easy because you're fat, or this or that guy's strong, but he sure is fat. So sometimes I'll just beat people to the punch. Like another PR curl by the fattest guy doing it, you know, because I already know what the criticism is going to be.
Right.
I can live with
pretty much.
So it's like, and I'm fine with it. So it is what it is. I have fun.
Comfortable in your own skin. That's what I'm always trying to be too.
Yeah. No doubt. Absolutely.
Hey, I'm sorry, LeRoy, can I ask you, I was looking at your Instagram and some of your posts and also some of your YouTube videos. First of all, I didn't say it already. Just congratulations on a great, disciplined, athletic career. You're a credible athlete. You've achieved many, many things within your sport. So I just want to say congratulations to you on that. And I just look forward to following you even after this. I look forward to following your ventures. I wanted to know what this meant. Just because a lot of folks may get offended or easily triggered doesn't mean that they are right. I just wondered, I was curious about that one. What do you mean by that?
I really think that's a testament to so much of what's going on in today's like, just people want to shun people, you know, just like I said it. So I think when I say it, what I was trying, and I hope it you know, it was when I put thoughts to paper, I hope it translates well. Right. Just because so many people are easily triggered over stuff. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, you can't, look at y'all in Texas, y'all going out there without masks and all this other stuff. And I'm like, so my thoughts on that is just because I might do something or say something because you're easily triggered doesn't mean you're right. So many people become self-righteous in their argument, or they take a stand on something like, oh, you know what, if you don't support Black Lives Matter, you're a racist. And this, right. I'm like, I'm half Black. I support Black Lives Matter, but I don't have to use because I get this all the time, believe it or not. I get so much DM and so much negative talk from people because they want me to be more LeBron-esque. And I respect and I stand behind, I support, and I salute everything that LeBron does almost to a T without fault. Right. However, I don't choose to take on that battle. That's something I've fought my whole life. I still fight, you know, fighting being a biracial, you know, child, adult, whatever you want to call it. Till today. I have my own personal demons. I have my own personal viewpoints. And something else that, you know, here's the one thing, and this is going to turn to a whole other conversation. That's okay. I look at things so much different from being biracial. And also, and I think something people fail to look at in this country is you have the race card, and I think you have the socioeconomic card, where people want to think so much stuff is polarized and it's way over here versus a lot of it's very, very central. Because I grew up poor and I grew up multicultural. So a lot of times people say, like, give you a great example. And I'll put my personal shit out there. Me and my brother, to this day, we do not talk whatsoever. I do not talk. I don't associate with my brother. Same mom, same dad. And believe it or not, he's actually lighter than I am. But we both grew up poor, and we both grew up without a dad. You know, I'll put that he's fathered a few children. And I'll put this out there. My personal bias is I don't feel he has taken the steps to right the wrongs of the childhood that we have and be better than the example we had. Because we both grew up on some, my biological father is probably one of the most selfish, self-centered persons I've ever met in my life. So I never had children. I was married. I had a stepson, treat him like my own, love him to this day. Never fathered children my own. My brother, however, he has his siblings. Now, but growing up, we both vowed if we were given the opportunity, we would never be like this person that we grew up despising. And I'm fortunate enough that I had a mom, my mom passed away, that my mother wasn't one of those bitter mothers that bashed and made me, she didn't emasculate my father. She didn't, you know, just brutally just talk shit about my father like that motherfucker. Da, da, da. She never did any of that. She just said actions will always speak louder than words, and his lack of action is going to help you develop how you feel about him in that situation. And it did. She didn't have to talk shit. Him being an absentee, him not sending child support, him not doing anything, let me see on my own that he was a deadbeat, good for nothing dad. So fast forward to me and my brother. My brother went the same exact route as my dad did. Now, the point I'm trying to make is we both grew up in the same household, same complexion, almost same ethnicity, both grew up poor. He will identify and play up I am a struggling, the world is against me because I'm a Black man, yada, 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 yada. And I've been super put myself through college successful, same parents, same socioeconomic status, but I don't buy into that. And I think it's one of those things that's hard for me because I see the plight that the Black man has gone through in America, but I also see the plight that it is what you are, how you are at a disadvantage when you come from a economic background. Both parents didn't go to college. Grandparents didn't go to college. That, in a sense, I think is almost stacks the deck against me more than the being African American.
Sure.
But so many people want to make you just automatically just fall back and play victim, like, oh my gosh, it's this, this, and this. And so I've kind of grew up with this pull yourself up by your bootstraps mentality. And when I went to college, you know what I'm saying? Because I didn't pledge Kappa, didn't play Omega Psi Phi, that put me at odds with a lot of my counterparts because they're like, oh, you're this light skinned, you're this house nigga, you're this high yellow, all this other stuff. And I'm like, I grew up poor just like you. What are you talking about? But it's the mentality, because some people, and I'm not saying everybody, some people will take on that victim mentality. And that's something I fought so hard to want to dispel, that like, it don't matter if you grew up weak. I was picked on, I was bullied. That's really the main driving factor that got me into powerlifting. Is I looked up to my uncle as being strong. I said, man, I'm tired of getting my ass kicked. I'm tired of getting my ass whooped by my stepfather, you know, coming home drunk, beating me and my mom and my brother with a belt. That's what I was tired of. So that made it to the point where I couldn't just sit back and keep whining about it. I had to get stronger and actually get out there and motherfucking do something about it. You know, so I've never been one to sit back and have a pity party and just think someone else is going to come save me. It would have been easy for me to just turn to my uncle and say, hey, why don't you whoop my dad's ass? But that wasn't going to change nothing. So I'm glad he said, hey, I can't step in for whatever reason. Your mom's not leaving them, and that's my sister. So he's like, you better motherfucking figure it out. So I was like, okay, I guess I better get stronger or just keep taking these L's. And I was tired of taking L's. So, you know, I had to get stronger somehow, some way.
Man, and you ain't look back.
That's how the machine came to be. But, you know, back to the point I'm trying to make, I think it's so hard in this country because so many people want to just sit back and play this bit. I don't care what color you are. So many people, it's quicker. And now with the climate, it's almost easier to play the victim role.
True.
You know, like, you scared of you don't want to go to work, stay home. Because as someone who consults people in their business, I'm losing my mind how there are so many businesses. You can't drive past a restaurant right now without seeing Will hired. But then in Austin, where I'm at in Austin, I'll see people, you know, sit here and go out and protest and advocate saying, oh, this city doesn't do enough for the homeless. We need to put billions of dollars in homeless shelters. And I work my ass off and pay taxes as a homeowner. And I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. I just drove fast right on this same corner where there's 10 tents and a community set up. I just passed 10 businesses that are saying, looking for, now hiring, all positions available. So I'm like, let me get this straight. I'm supposed to bust my ass and spend my tax dollars to support this when these same people could take a 5-minute walk down the road and go to 10 different places, get employed right now.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much sexy. You know what I'm saying? It's not sexy to say, why don't you go out there and work for it? It's like, now we need to keep these programs. And I get it. Programs work. But to an extent, you got to be self-reliant.
Yeah, they can enable you.
Yourself up.
Yeah, they can help and hurt.
Yeah, that's my mentality because and sometimes it comes across as harsh, you know, and I'm like, I'm not cookie cutter. I'm not for every single snowflake out there. I'm just not.
No doubt. You know, the other thing about it too, LeRoy, ultimately is, man, you know, you preach a silent sermon, or people, you be the example. You know, you're that change. You know, people say blah, 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 complain about whatever it is they complain about. I mean, but you do what you do, you've done what you've done, you're an example of what you're saying. So, I mean, it kind of shuts it down. You know, you can't argue with results. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think in this age, and that part of the back to what we put up is, I think, you know, so many people think just because now with social media that they have an outlet that their voice truly matters. And I'm like, it does to an extent, but not to like a great example. I crack up as someone I think it becomes, you have to spend about 10 years to become efficient and become almost a master at anything you want to do. 10, 15, 20 years. But I see so many people out there now, I'm like, motherfucker, you just did 2 powerlifter meets. Now you're coaching.
Happens all the time.
You see a girl out there, she dieted twice, took some motherfucking Slim Tea, got a waist trainer, and then on her IG, she's like, I'm a certified coach. You know, come train with me. I'm like, And I get it, but I get it till I don't get it. It's almost laughable. So what I'm trying to say is, so many people forget you have to personify the teaching.
Absolutely.
You know, I can't be an advocate for change, you know, do this, and this, and follow my program. That's why I tell people in my program, I don't offer diet advice because it's something I struggle with this till this day. I have a platform, you know, I have followers, but just because I can say it doesn't mean I should.
Sure.
Just because I offer it doesn't mean I should. That's why I tell people, just because you think you should do it doesn't mean you should, because you still have to learn how to be the best version of yourself before you can pass this off.
Yes.
Right. That's true. You know? That's true.
Because my brother, and this is one of the arguments I got with my brother a couple of times. He's like, man, I'm like, my brother, he doesn't always keep gainful employment, and he has a drinking problem. And so one of his kids got to the point where, man, my son's starting a party, I'm telling him he better. I said, motherfucker, why did we listen to you? Look at you. You don't listen to you. Why the fuck you think your son's gonna listen to you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's a cold, hard truth, and a lot of people don't want the truth.
Right. But it's needed. It's needed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, okay. You know, just real quick, man, I appreciate you sharing that though, brother. You know what I'm saying? Putting it out there, you know, sharing how you feel, you know, putting some personal illustrations out there. And you know, the thing about it, man, at the end of the day, and this goes back to how you'll post your fails when it comes to your lips. People see LeRoy, they see the machine doing what he do, but LeRoy is a man. LeRoy has lived some life. LeRoy doesn't only have wisdom and experience when it comes to his sport, but in living as well. And maybe somebody else that was getting being abused or being bullied will draw from this. You know what I'm saying? Somebody that's growing up, you know, poor, low on funds, whatever, single parent home, they'll draw something good from this because it is good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, sorry, Kendrick. I think
what, you good? Go ahead.
My apologies. I think what LeRoy was saying earlier too about getting bullied in the past, and that he had to take matters into his own hands. And that's what you got to do in life sometimes. You got to take matters into your own hands if you want to change things. I remember I was bullied really badly, LeRoy. I talk about it all the time. It still pisses me off to this day, but it made me into who I am today. You know what I mean? I was bullied and I had to become my own bodyguard. It's it didn't change until I took matters into my own hands.
Right. Yeah. And I tell you what, for me, it's kind of embarrassing, but I was a bully and I was bullied. You know what I'm saying? So I've seen both sides of it. And just all three of us I know can attest to how impressionable how things can impress upon you, what you experience in your life. I know certain things that I experienced when I was a kid or a teenager made me how I am and who I am today. So it's like, from being bullied, I know what that experience did to me, and being a bully at one point, knowing what that did, I've been blessed to have an opportunity, man, to go back and apologize to people that I wronged, because what happens, you know, LeRoy, what you experienced when you were coming up, you know, good or bad, it molded you. Hobby, same thing, good or bad, me, good or bad, you know what I'm saying? So it's a blessing to be able to go through those things and ultimately emerge from it better. You know what I'm saying? So,
and I think it's important for a gentleman like yourself to both have the platform and formats like this to get these kind of stories out there. And I think it's more important. I really think in this day and age, I think when people get the opportunity, I don't think you need to be out there like a bleeding heart, like a woe is me. But I think it's important to get these stories out there because I say this time and time again, and I say it because, you know, I see both. I always be objective. I tell people I see both sides of it, but I don't necessarily agree with it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like, for example, do I think bullying is wrong? Bullying is wrong? Hell yes, of course. Bullying is wrong. I'm never going to justify it. However, I think in the heat of things that people are taking away examples and things that could personify how you champion the situation you're in. Right, I think I don't think it's enough to just sit here and say, you know, put out 1 million public service announcements, stop bullying, stop bullying, stop bullying. I think you have to give people real life examples of what can be achieved and what can be overcome. So, and I say this, and it's almost comical, but like a couple of years ago, it blew my, I say this, you know, I sound like my grandfather when I say back in the day, but it blew my mind one of the great, here's a great example. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was bullied.
Right.
And overcame and he saved Christmas. Now I'm not going to say, because once again, here I am. We can talk about Christmas and you're excluding Hanukkah, you're excluding Kwanzaa. No, I'm talking about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, an example of someone who overcame bullying. But people want to censor certain things in our culture and say, well, because there's this aspect of it, we got to just pretend the whole story never existed. And I'm like, hold on a second. That's like, why don't we ban Rocky? Rocky's a great example. Someone who got beat, saw their friend die, and came back and overcame the opposition and beat Drago. There's so many examples of Superman, Clark Kent. You go down almost if we got to start erasing like Marvel comic book characters because they got picked on or bullied or overcame a supervillain, we're gonna have no comics left.
Pretty much.
So it's like, so I think it's great to say, in my experience, I would have been like, hey, looking back at it, Rudolph was bullied, and that's bad. But look also what Rudolph did to overcome it. No, don't just take it off, because it blew my mind that they're like, we will no longer air Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer because
that's a real. Whoa! That's a real thing.
No, it was real.
Are you serious?
A couple years back, they
canceled Rudolph.
They canceled Rudolph because they said, because some people said it glorified bullying.
Wow.
I'm like, no, it glorified overcoming being bullied.
Yes.
You can look at it. Both are true, but why don't you just let it play out and let people see, hey, that's the example of someone who got better.
Man, LeRoy, you hurt my feelings. I didn't know that happened.
That's almost like we got to take away the turtle and the hare. I mean, I get it, but there's a certain point where I'm just like, come on, man. A great teacher is gonna show someone where to look. They're not gonna provide the answers.
Right.
So why don't we let people look as this is the example of what it could become? Not what initially happened.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, man. Research it. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Man, that's kind of painful. Dang.
LeRoy, can I ask?
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Sorry, just talking to you, just getting to know you. And I know your incredible career with your weightlifting, your bench press records. Did you ever reach the 700 or surpass that? And forgive me if I'm talking out of turn.
No, I never reached. I took a 705 attempt, never reached it. Had a couple injuries, couple setbacks. I think one of my last times hit a 650 and then a 633 to set a Masters world record.
Wow.
And then, a couple things have happened. I think over the last 2 years, it got to a point where, and I'm open about this, last 2.5, 3 years, a couple things have happened. There's some injuries that didn't turn me off or turn me away from the sport. I just was so used to doing stuff at such a high level. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that I said I'm gonna walk away, because I haven't walked away, because I get this all the time. People ask me about, have you walked away from bench press? You're only curling now. I haven't. There's just certain fundamental things that my passion for the sport didn't allow me. Now that I became more knowledgeable, I didn't take enough time off in between meets to really let myself heal and then come back and attempt to go after a huge number.
Okay.
And a lot of this has to do something, and something I'll expose. People don't understand. Once you become pro, or once you start taking on sponsorships, and more importantly, once you start taking on sponsorship money, there are expectations of how you should perform. There are expectations, like if someone shells out a couple thousand, and you're going to a meet, and you sign up for the meet, and you put out there that's a meet, and people are sponsoring the meet. Nobody wants to hear you pull out of the meet because of injury. Right. You know what I'm saying? So there's probably, I would say 3, and there's a point I'll say this 3 years ago, 3 years prior, there's probably a lot of meets that I probably took on that I shouldn't have, that I just wasn't healed enough. I wasn't ready. I wasn't recovered enough from the prior meet. So I was going out there, hitting, and I'm not trying to be on some cocky stuff. I was hitting low sixes, mid sixes. And to me, I wanted 700.
Right.
So I was like, it got to a point where if I'm not going to set a new PR, why am I doing this meet? And so a couple of things that happened, like the last 2 years, a lot of stuff changed as far as sponsorships and people I was with. I got rid of the tough rap situation and started working exclusively as far as equipment and rap, started working with Ghost. Best thing that's ever happened to me. I have aspects of my contractual stuff that makes it so I can meet, as long as I'm relevant, I don't necessarily have to compete to maintain that contract. So it's allowed me to almost take as much time off to heal to get back to competitive bench as I need to. But because of the product and because we're doing the raps, it allowed me to really venture in and take on other stuff. Like I've always been fascinated with the strict curl. It was just because of my bench, because I do my own programming. And quick story, back in high school, we were brought up on the Bigger, Faster, Stronger program. So the time I had to take my weight class, I tell the story all the time, that I had to take what's called 0-hour weights. I was the only football player in there with a football coach. The other 30 students were all non-football. So they wasn't getting pushed like I was getting pushed. Right. And because of that, it became one of those things like, okay, you finished your squat, dead, bench. You wanted to go do some curls? No, go do some more bench. That was always the answer when I wanted to do curls or other auxiliaries. So it was instilled upon me that you never really have time to do curls. If you have energy, go do anything else except, the what was called the fluffy stuff. And so and then, during my powerlifting career, I just only did auxiliary work that I felt were necessary to maintain a strong bench or, whatever lift it may be. So this past, I think October, I was in there in the gym just kind of messing around. And then people were like, hey, why don't you try this strict curl thing? Why don't you try, heavy curls? And I was able to cheat curl a lot of weight. So I was like, okay, if I can cheat this much, it shouldn't be too hard to go strict. And so I just started dabbling in it. And it's funny because go back, I think 3 years ago, I think right before CT Fletcher did one of his meets, I always knew about his strict curl and his bench press record, but he actually had the platform and in the rack. So I remember it was like 150 pounds. I thought, oh, this is going to be easy. So I remember getting it to go against the wall, and I was like, man, there really is something to this whole strict curl thing. That was like 3 years ago. I just picked up the bar, never touched it again, never thought about it again, but I keep seeing these mentions of his contests, other contests. And then over the last year, Larry and a whole bunch of other people are like showing all this strict curl content. So I just started, one day just training, and I was doing a lot of my strict curl stuff on the Ghost incline because my contract, I can't get all the details, but it's a 2 contract. There's one that's apparel, there's one that's equipment. They had already fronted an incline, and the incline rack and everything was cool to set up to do curls and stuff. And at the time, I was still going through some bad elbow stuff. So I'm like, man, I can't really bench on here like I'm supposed to, but I still got to be able to do something relevant. So then I just started curling on the incline, and then I was like, you know what? And then it was just like my bench press. When someone tells me I can't do something, I'm gonna be 100% determined to do it. So when people are like, oh, you're at 550, you ain't gonna get 600. I'm like, 550 is closer to 6 than it is to 550. That's just always been my mentality. Then I got to 6. I'm like, oh, you ain't gonna get to 650. So when I got to 640, 650, I'm like, you know what? This is closer to 7 than it is to 6. So then I started the road to 700, and then and then that kind of, I had a couple injuries and stuff like that, and then with the curl, I started doing it. I was like, man, I'm closer to 225 than I'm closer to 200. So so my first competition was, I think, a month or 2 ago, or 2 months ago. I went out there, opened up, hit one of the highest curls in American history.
Nice. And then congratulations.
Set a master's record with the 209. Now, my mentality going into it, I wanted the 225, or 226, which was an American record. We had a couple of things happen, and I didn't want to play this up, but the week of the competition, I did catch the flu, because prior to that, in Texas, we had that snow blizzard.
Oh, okay.
So we were snow. So 3 weeks out from that competition, I missed a week and a half of training because all of Austin, you couldn't go nowhere. Gyms were closed down.
Right.
COVID. I couldn't even leave my house. Electric, everything was so. I was on pace to break the 225, but in all that actuality, like I had like a 2 to 3 week setback to the flu and then to that. So I wasn't going to get away from the contest. So still went to the contest. And my mindset was like, after the 209, I knew from my week of training going up into it that 220 was there. Because my progressions, I was like 210, 215, 220. I was projected to hit 225 at the meet. So I told myself, if I go 220, I'm just going to be the dude that didn't attempt to break the record. If I do 220, it's still going to be the second best. So I told myself, I'm going to take 226 on the third, win, lose, or draw. At least there'll be a buzz from it taking the attempt, because 220 does nothing for me. 220 is a wasted lift. Just like back, and I'm talking from a competitor standpoint, just like if I go to a meet and I wanted to, like when I took my 705 attempt, I had already done 661, which at the time was American record in that federation. This is obviously before Julius Maddox and whatever and stuff like that. So I wanted to be one of the next people to hit a 700 bench. And if you look at the record books, I had already done 675. It put me at number 5 all time with Jim Williams. And it goes 675. Then it goes, I want to say 705 by James Henderson. So, or 701. So 699, 680, all those, which in hindsight, I look back, I would have loved to have been, 680, 690 is obviously better than 675. And it would have moved me one up over Jim Williams of the all time. It would have put me by myself at number 5. But at the time, no one wants to be the 699 dude. No one wants to be the 685 guy. It's like 675 and then it's 700. So no one wants to be that dude in between. So I took it. I got real close, but I didn't make it. So with that being said, I kept that tucked away. And so when I went to the meet, I was like, man, here I am in one of these situations again. I could hit a 220, which would be the second. Basically, the 209 made me the current number 1 strict curler in America. It set the federation and it set a master's world record. So for me, I'm like 220 is a wasted lift. It's 226 or bust. And I got it halfway, and then I just vowed to myself, okay, I just got in this sport. I know what the American record is. I know what the world record is. So I'm just gonna go after the American record and on my way to the world record. So my next meet is June 25th. And as a matter of fact, I have a heavy session tonight, so you guys can look forward. Stay tuned to that.
Nice.
I'm gonna try to go 230 or 235 on a preacher curl. Now, in my mind, if I can hit 230 on a preacher curl, I'm gonna hit it 225 straight. Because last Friday, I did a 225 preacher curl, which was insane. But it is what it is.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, but just you doing this coming in, machine. You know what I'm saying? So what you gonna do when you get just a little bit more time? And that's that's impressive.
To be honest with you, it to me it gets to extinguish the fire, if you will, because I love him. He's my brother. No one on this planet is gonna catch Julius Maddox. The competitor wants to be on the number 1 all-time world at something. You know what I'm saying? No one's going to touch Julius. Julius is going to smash 800. Julius will probably put up like 820, 830, sometime this year. I know he's going to smash the 800. I don't know if I personally don't know if he's going to go 800 and just call it a day, or if he's going to try to go, all gas, no brakes. So with that being said, I'm like, I have a really good chance to do some damage on the strict curl, because I'll say this, and I got to be real PC when I say this, because there's a lot of people out there that have real sensitive, I'll just call it real sensitive feelings about the American record. That's kind of all I can say without, starting a fire. There's a certain camp that feels that that's a covered record and no one should attempt it, which I don't give 2 fucks. A record's meant to be broke.
Absolutely.
So it is what it is. So I make sure I try to be PC and say, I'm attempting the American record. I'm not going to call out the person. I'm not going to say I'm breaking so-and-so's record, even though I already broke it at Venice Beach.
Right.
I already broke that record. So I'm going to jump in line and I'm going to break this next record. And I thought it would have been all good. I thought it would have been all congratulatory.
Right.
But obviously someone in that camp feels a certain kind of way about it. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to sit back and I'm going to do me. And I can say that record will fall, hopefully June 5th. But if not, I mean, worst case scenario, I know people, and I know that record wasn't set their first time out. So the way I see it, and it was set, I think 33, 34, like 10 years younger than when I'm jumping into the circle. So I'm jumping into it as a master. So from here on out, anything I do is going to be a Masters World Record. But with that being said, I don't know too many people that have jumped in as new sport or new discipline and been top 10 in the world all time. So that's impressive. The way I look at it, I'm playing with house money right here.
Absolutely. You know? Yeah, no doubt. You know, you touched on something a little earlier I wanted to ask you about. Javier and I are both martial artists. Javier, you know, he don't let him fool you with his humility, man. He can connect with you on the bouncing aspect and the protection thing. Javi, before I even go into my question, Javi, go tell the machine a little bit about yourself, man. You've been sitting back real humble, like, man. Go on.
Okay, machine. Yeah, I was machine. A lot of your story resonates with me, and so the personal stories you shared resonates with me a lot, sir. I haven't spoken to my brother in years either. Same mother, same father. Yeah, I was bullied a lot as a kid. Even into my adulthood, I was bullied. Till I tell Kendra, I can't believe it. Till my early 20s, I was bullied until I really started to master sweet science and other things of that nature. Then
tell them who you are.
Once I did, no one ever bullied me again to this day, Machine. Suspiciously, once I got really good at my sport, boxing, no one bothered me literally for the rest of my life till today.
Boxing, and what else, hobby?
Capoeira, mixed martial arts, kickboxing, Muay Thai. I can definitely relate to your passion, Machine, that you have had over these last 20 years, your sport. I've been the same way. I'm just a student of my sport. And also now I'm a student of other athletes and coaches, just what makes them tick, like yourself. I'm just trying to learn.
I mean, didn't you fight as well? Aren't you a fighter?
And, I competed amateur Muay Thai, professional mixed martial arts. I have records on file. I've traveled the world competing, fighting, mixed martial arts, kickboxing.
How long have you trained martial arts?
That wouldn't happen too. None of that would happen if I hadn't got bullied, because I didn't like fighting. So I didn't like fighting at all. And I think I worked in not protection, but I was a bouncer in different bars and nightclubs all through the Bay Area off and on for about 10, 11 years. In my younger days, and saw a lot of crazy stuff. I'm sure you have, and I call it the Devil's Playground, nightclubs and bars. And I've shared some stories in our past episodes about my fights and doing being a bouncer, doing bouncer work. But I did all those dangerous jobs, I think, because I was just chasing my fear. You know, I wanted to do everything scary to defeat my fear that I had since I was a kid getting bullied. So that's why I did those crazy jobs, just projecting. I want to fight my fears, you know, like jumping out of a building. You're afraid of, or a plane, you're afraid of heights. I was afraid of getting bullied. That's why I did all these dangerous things and try to conquer my fears. So, yeah, man, I really appreciate you sharing your personal stories with us, man. I can relate in some ways for sure.
Absolutely. Machine, I was going to ask you about, like injuries. Javi can attest to it, but he's done a much better job of being injury-free than what I have. I've been training martial arts off and on a little over 20 years, you know, weightlifting and that, nothing near your level, but weightlifting nonetheless. And the mistakes I've made that have where I've gotten injured have been based upon ignorance, more or less, you know, not knowing any better. Maybe my form wasn't the best when I was doing certain things. What I wanted to, and you kind of touched on it again, but what I wanted to ask you, I've seen how you do work in the pool. I want to say I've heard you talk about like active recovery. You may have had some injuries, you know, throughout your career, but nonetheless, you've remained relatively healthy enough to where you have competed as consistently as you have. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what I'm asking you is, what can you share in terms of wisdom and insight on how to be injury-free? What can, you know, share with us, with the audience, the things that you've done that have made you better, more resistant to injury, and help you to recover faster from injury?
And
take us to school
without having to have surgery too, I think.
Yeah, take us to school. Take us to school.
I think, first off, if you've gone through an injury and you go through the rehab process, I tell this all the time, it's going to be 99% mental. You have to believe that whatever you're doing is going to serve a purpose and it's going to work. I tell people all the time, you can have the best rehab coach, the best rehab facility. If you don't believe in the process and commit to the process and believe that you're going to get better, you never will. And then I really think it's a shift in mindset that you got to be diligent and understanding that the way you measure it is going to have to change. Just like, and it doesn't have to be injury. You have to just be able to adapt to your environment. It doesn't matter if the gyms are shut down. It doesn't matter if you do some stupid shit and you're in the pen. However you measure it is going to change. And I told this a lot, and I preached this a lot during COVID. People would get so upset, like, man, I was benching 405 before COVID, and now, I went back to the gym, it's been 2 months, and now I can't even hit 315. I'm like, okay, dummy, why would you was not doing the same programming that got you to X. Right. Now you're doing a programming that's good for you. You're doing home push-ups. So, and even before the gyms open up, I say, don't worry about what your bench press is. Do you have a bench press? Do you have a barbell? Do you have 400 pounds of weights? No. Mm-hmm. So what you're doing to measure where your progress was, you can't measure it because you're doing two different workouts. Right. So why don't you get on a program where you measure how many push-ups you could do, how many sets of 50 you could do? That's relevant. The strength will come back. The way you measure it will come back. Okay. But you just got to adapt and change to the fundamentals and the surroundings that you're in at that time. Same thing with the injury. You're going to get hurt. So the things you do, like whether it's the swimming pool, the bands, you got to change the way you measure your strengths because trying to measure push-ups or dumbbell presses or any of that stuff is irrelevant if your end goal is to get here. And you got to understand you're starting here. You're trying to end up here. So don't get so frustrated when you're still, in this area over here. So like I said, it's a mindset shift. A lot of people don't have the patience or the perseverance to stick to the program and to the grind. You got to commit to the daily process to eventually become the person that's going to help you obtain the goals that you want to reach. Absolutely. If you can't commit to that process, then everything else is for nothing. Okay. And so that's the mentality that I've taken early on when I had my first couple injuries. And then from there on out, it's just a matter of like, I get this a lot. Like when I do, for example, I'm going to go for 235, a 10-pound jump from my last preacher curl, which I felt could have torn my biceps. And people are like, why would you put yourself in harm's way? Well, because one, it's all relative to strength. I would never say if you're a 315-pound bencher, go out there and try 500. There's levels to it. You know what I mean? It's like if you're a fighter, if you're a brown belt, fight other brown belt. You're not going to jump in the ring with a black belt and expect to have success. You might land 1 or 2 kicks or punches, but you're not going to, or you might get lucky. But there's checks and balances and there's levels and a sequential order to do what you do. So when it comes back to training, I'll tell everybody, it's like I almost project myself like I'm in a rocket ship or I'm about to take off. There's when you see, like the Apollo and all these movies, like, okay, system check, engine check. There's a certain progression of things. When I was bench pressing, I would coach people, okay, take your 3 deep breaths, get your feedings, get your foot set, get your scap set. Now get your hands. There's a certain thing that you need to do each and every single time. And number one pushback I'll get from people, man, it's time consuming. It's very meticulous. And man, that's a whole lot of steps. You're asking me, and I'm not saying you guys, but you're asking me, how do I do this at the level I do and stay injury free? Because I systematically have a process that I duplicate each and every time. So if I do A and then go to B, then go to C, then go to D, somewhere in that process, if I felt something was off, okay, it's turn off the engines. It's not all systems go. Right. Wow. And I take that approach. And I take that approach to when you see me, if you see me strict curl and people laugh, they're like, man, why do you take 3 deep breaths and then you let out a loud breath and someone slaps you and then you go, because I'm going through my check down process.
That's your process. Yep.
I don't ever just go out there and just let me fucking take some C4, throw on some fucking headbanger boogie, and whatever in my my earphones, and then just let me I've never been that type of person. I've always been a very methodical in what I do. I'll explode and celebrate afterwards, but because it's all pent up, I'm going from, it's like a roller coaster. I'm just slowly inching up that hill. Now, when I get to the top, it's all systems go. But that's my process.
Sure.
And so like I said, it's checks and balances. If I know everything is going through the process right, I'm like, shit, it's go time. Because the weight is relative. People are like, oh, 225. Yeah. And I'll tell people it's not a cocky way. My heavy is not your heavy. Like I posted the other day about the heavy dumbbells. Like if you ain't scared, it's not heavy enough. And people are like, oh, that's just ego.
I seen that. Yeah.
No, it's relative.
Right.
50. And I'm seeing, here's the thing, I'm staying in my lane. That's why I get so mad. I'll post stuff that can be taken as cocky, and I know what I'm doing when I do it, but at the same time, I'm not belittling, I'm not bullying, I'm not on some punk shit. If your max is 50 pounds, cool. I'll give you props. I'll give you that. Stay in your lane. You know what I'm saying? But don't come over to my lane and criticize or tell me that, you're about to tear a bicep with no. Because first of all, what you're seeing 30 seconds of a 3-hour-long process. I did the 100s. I did the 125s. I did the 150s. I started off with the bar. I did a 2.5 hours of workout before you saw that. And here's the thing. People don't understand the process, and it's a matter of perspective. So many people and are there people out there that get hurt? Yes, because there's people out there that think how you bench press is you go up or you strict curl. Let's just use bench press. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to get the bar. I'm going to do the bar for 10. I'm going to do a plate. I'm going to do 225s, and I'm going to try to max 315. I would tell you as a coach, that's a recipe for disaster. One, you're not warmed up properly. And more importantly, you've done nothing to address your CNS. Your CNS is what's going to make all your power unlocked. So you have to do what's called progressive overload. You probably need to go put 350 on the bar, struggle with it with a good spot, and then come back down to 315. Just like when you see me go 225 or 235, I guarantee you I did a couple cheat curls with 270. So when I come down to the 235, it's a struggle, but my body was used to exerting 110% of energy to try to lift 270. Trying to mentally and physically convince your mind to move an immovable object, you generate 10 to 20% more force to do the task at hand. So then when I go back to where my level of my lane is, I'm either going to get it or I'm not. But what I'm not going to do is put myself in harm's way of injury because my muscles and more importantly, my CNS, my internal, you know what I'm saying? My mindset, and I'm already gauged to be that level of strong. Now, if my CNS doesn't get warmed up, if I have a rule, if I try to cheat 50 pounds over what I want to get, if I can't cheat it, I don't do it. So I already cheated 275 before I tried the 225. But I'm sorry, you don't comprehend it because one, you didn't see the motherfucking whole workout. That's not my fault. Two, you're applying how you would warm up and what you would attempt. Well, you ain't gonna ever let them hang. You would probably never attempt 200 in your life. So you are just a different breed, and we just ain't on the same level. So you're never gonna understand why I do what I do.
No, pretty much. But for whatever reason, it doesn't stop them from talking, does it? You know what I'm saying?
And you know what? Though, as much as I gripe or vent about it, I still love it.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, clearly, because you're still doing it, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because then you get just like Javi, I'm sure you get people that come up to you and like, man, if I train, I'll jump in there. Or, you get people sometimes dumb enough to think that they could fight you. I get people that say, oh, man, give me 2 months, I'm going to strict curl that. And I'll say, cool, give me 2 months, and guess what? I'm going to get stronger. So you ain't, so the me you see now ain't gonna be the me you go against in 2 months. But people forget that part. Like Arnold, the movie Pumping Iron. Lou's like, a month from now. And then Arnold's like, fuck it, we can do it, but then I get stronger too.
Right. Yeah. Hey, there's a reason why you guys are champions, my man. Most definitely.
Man, I'm just trying to live my best day.
Hey,
That's
you doing
right.
it. And,
Yes.
and the cool thing about it, LeRoy, is in the process, my man. I mean, you encouraging and inspiring others, man. It's just, like you said, it's levels to it on so many different levels, from what you face coming up to what you face now to what you've accomplished, man. You know what I'm saying? It's good stuff. You know what I'm saying? Positive people. What would you say, or I'm sorry, Javi, were you about to say something?
No, go ahead. I'm just taking it in, man. Go ahead.
I know that's right. LeRoy, I was going to ask you, what would you say is your proudest moment within powerlifting, and what is your proudest moment in life?
You know, that's a really good question. I think you know, there's so many different, maybe from a powerlifting standpoint.
Okay.
I think every time, and there's been like, I think like 6 or 7 different times in the last couple months, I took it upon myself to jump into the sport of strict curl. And then I also took it upon myself to pay it forward. And this is going to sound crazy, to start coaching strict curl. So, So my first, believe it or not, I had, I think, 6 people from my gym sign up to go do the strict curl competition with myself. Sure. And so it's one of those things where you hear me say it all the time. I think like Wes Watson or Watson Fitz says all the time, you got to personify the teaching. So I was like, shit, I got these people looking up to me. I better motherfucking act like I know what I'm doing. Right. But I never had strict curl coaching, never did strict curl programming. I was just like, we're going to do this on some, hope this shit works. So and here's the other thing a lot of people don't know. Ghost built like a $4,500 strict curl platform. And they sent it to me, you know, being a Ghost athlete, I've never strict curled in my life. Nice. Never did a competition, and here they are. Okay.
Sending you the gear.
It was that level. What was it?
They're sending you the gear, and you never even did that before, right?
They sent a platform. They's like, okay, we'll build you a custom strict curl platform, and we'll send it to you. And so I tell you, if that wasn't pressure, I don't know what was. When you have a multi-million-dollar company say, okay, we're going to drop some coin and invest in you, and you haven't even competed. So back to that other stuff I was talking about, I was like, shit, rain, snow, snowstorm, flu. I couldn't pull out. I'm not pulling out of that contest because they already built the platform. So with that being said,
that's awesome.
My proudest moment was when everybody continuously showed up to the practices, when they were like, yeah, coach, we know you've never competed, but we trust you know what you're talking about. And it was one of those things by default. It was kind of like just the law of the jungle. They're like, shit, you're the strongest person, so whatever you're doing must be working. And I was like, so in the back of my mind, I was like, that's how we're doing this. And in my mind, I was like nervous as hell. I was like, shit, I hope everything I'm teaching is right. Because when we get up to, because you'll see some people train for some sports. Like I see this all the time in bodybuilding. People will work on all this stuff on what they think is posing, or then they'll get to like the competition. Or better yet, I've had a couple for being back in my days in LA. If I had a dime for every time I thought I had a friend that thought they knew how to act, and they thought, oh, if I just go to this audition, you know, how to read, how to submit your doubt. There's a whole way you have to do things, a whole order. And some people, and they went, and then after they learned it, me and my friend, I have a good friend to this day, we still chuckle because she's like, if I only knew what I knew now back then, because if she knew what she knows now, she would have gone to the audition because everything she did was 100% wrong. But she didn't know any better. So I had one of those moments as a coach where, well, I think this is how we do this. I think this is how you put your feet. So when everybody started doing it and winning and having success, that was probably my proudest moment in powerlifting.
Nice.
To be able to pay it forward and be proud of others because it was no longer about me. It was about the we. It was about the team and about paying it forward. You know, and I say that's in all aspects of life. Like I got to argue with some people the other day. They're like, man, I'm a boss and da-da-da. And they go someplace and they can't pay for their friends. I was like, how the fuck you gonna be a boss and your team is broke? You can't be a boss and your team is broke. You ain't no boss. If your team is broke, you ain't a boss.
Period. Period.
So So yeah, I just kind of worked that into my coach. I was like, I can't be great and have all these other people bomb. So everybody's been doing tremendously well with the strict curl.
Congratulations.
People, jumped on there. So that ended up working itself out. So now that I have, one competition under my belt, I'm a certified.
Hey, that's a start. You know what I'm saying?
I would say my proudest moment was probably in the strict curl, setting a master's record and having all these, not listening to the hype. I had a lot of people, you can go out there and smash this. And I had a lot of haters. I had a lot of people that just believe that record is so coveted and shouldn't even be attempted and no one's going to break it. And that dude's arms, everybody knows about his arms. Everybody knows he curls every motherfucking day, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, that's great, but I'm going to do me. I can only be me,
Right. Yeah.
And I think it's working out pretty good.
Absolutely. I mean, clearly you're doing what you do. Would you say, in terms of what your ultimate goal is, would you say that is to just get it, to just get that top spot when it comes to strict curls? I know you were talking earlier about.
I want to say to get the top spot in strict curl will mean obviously a world. That will mean the world to me. But to do it as a master, to do it after. I mean, I've had a bicep tendon tear, I've had a tricep tear, I've had a pec tear, no surgery, and just to have the mentality that somehow, some way, that no and giving up and quitting is not an option. I want to do it for my generation, because there's so many people that we grew up. We're that middle generation in the 40s somethings where we grew up where we got shitted on by the older generation, like we weren't hardcore enough, but then we also grew up in this new kind of participation award. And, as far as the science of it, there was so much, it's almost that generation where I had to be quick to drop all my old school, don't drink water during football. And I went through this as a coach. I coached high school football. So it was, I had to adopt a different mentality because it's a different era.
Right, different era.
I grew up in the era, in the 80s and 90s when you played sports. It was almost like some Remember the Titans. Like, water breaks are for pussies. You need to be out there doing 3 a days.
Wait,
now,
that's my generation. That's how I was brought up.
Yeah,
that's how I was brought up. Exactly.
Yeah, when water breaks. Are you hurt? Are you injured? Rub some dirt on it. Real players. And this was a different one for me. I played old school football. Real players go both ways. Now, you have to be almost. And let me take this back. If you had a successful program, you have to be damn near almost an NFL level caliber player for them to want to have you go both ways. Because 9 times out of 10, if you had a good program, there's someone who does it better than you on that side of the ball. Therefore, you don't need to go both ways. So as I see competitive, there's probably very few schools that have their athletes go both. But when I was growing up, that was the thing to do. You wanted to go both ways. But now the science behind, one side of the ball, more energy, more efficiency, I see all of that. But, it's one of those things where you have to be able to leave that old school mentality and adopt the new school mentality of doing stuff.
Everything's evolving, right, LeRoy? It's all about evolving too. We evolve as the generations go, right?
It is, and it's one of those things where I see other athletes my age or older. They get. I think that's where a lot of the frustration and sometimes the hate comes from, because I'll see some people, and I'm not going to name no names, but I'll see some people. I'm like, I know, dude's a top 10 athlete in the world in powerlifting, but he hasn't been able to monetize. He hasn't been able to flip that switch, because he's back in the day where people wanted to cover you, or YouTube. YouTube is all it took. Now it just don't work like that. A great example is, and I forgot the name of it. Did you guys see the movie? I think it was a Netflix with Esteban Oriol and Mr. Cartoon.
No, what's it called, or what's it about?
I forgot the name, but anyways, you know who Esteban Oriol and Mr. Tattoo is, or Mr. Cartoon, right? It was basically, it was about guys in the 90s that did the music videos when they were Cypress Hill, and with Cypress Hill and Eminem and all that stuff was like on fire.
Okay.
And basically, the Mr. Cartoon learned to adapt and digitalize his stuff, and the other person, just Oreo, kind of just stayed with the photography part of it. But as the digital age came up and magazines and all that stuff went away, that art form, it wasn't bad. It was just almost obsolete if you didn't know how to go digital and monetize it. So we saw this dude that was making hundreds of thousands that now was just like, you know, kind of lost in the transition. I see that happen to so many athletes. And I'm not saying they're washed up. I'm just saying from the monetization side.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. I understand what you mean. Yeah, definitely.
And we see the same thing, and we see the same thing in the music industry. Because I have friends growing up through protection in the music industry. I'm like, you get some artists now, I'm never going to make back a couple of years. I'll never make a ringtone. I'm never doing this. I'm never doing that.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Ringtones,
yeah. Some artists that would just never make that kind, or never bend their way to that, or I'll fuck iTunes. And I'm like, now if you ain't digital, you ain't nowhere.
Right. Yeah, pretty much. Question for you. What do you, just because you've experienced it so much, I can't think of what the actual name for it is, but I know the company Kabuki makes it. I got one coming in the mail tomorrow. And what it is, I don't know if it's called it might be called a Cadillac bar.
The Cadillac bar?
Yeah, the one where you grab it like this as opposed to like this. What are your thoughts on that? The reason I just from seeing it, I almost feel like when I do dumbbell presses, it feels better. Of course, you know, you have better range of motion, but it's like for a barbell with that multi-grip, what do you feel are the advantages for it?
I feel the grip is good, the pronation is good, the range of motion is good, but here's the flip side to this, and I'm so glad you brought that up and said you're gonna get one, because especially when I do my hammer curls on that. When I do my hammer curls, or when I've got 500 plus on there, the thing that nobody understands until you get under that bar, you will have, and I'm not saying on some cocky shit, just get that. When's the bar coming to you?
Tomorrow.
Okay. When you get 225, or just try this, when you get one, throw a plate on each side and try to do a hammer curl, and then try to throw 225 on there and do some bench press. I tell people, like, until people get in the gym and do the workout, they don't have an appreciation for how ridiculous and how hard it actually is. Because the thing that gets lost in translation with that bar is not the grip. The grip is amazing. The grip puts you in a position of power. It is the bar and the way it's on an auto axis. It always wants to recorrect itself. Wow. So when you're held in hammer curls right here, the bar wants to flip like this.
Oh, man.
So I'm trying to do this and keep it here. The bar wants your wrist to break.
Oh, man.
So it almost makes the lift twice as hard. So when you in a bench press, the weight wants to roll forward.
Oh, man.
So it takes that much more energy to keep it stable, because it's not like a traditional football bar where it's all one piece.
Right.
This bar's got a whole axis that it rotates on.
Oh, man.
So when you do 300, it's really like doing 400. 200 is really like doing 300. So when I did 500, it was pretty much like I did a 600-pound incline.
Dang.
It is, and I'm not on some self-hype. It really is that hard. But you fundamentally won't understand that until you get under that bar, because the bar is going to roll. You don't see that on video.
No, you don't.
Not being, like I said, not on some cocky shit. My wrists are ridiculously strong. So I tell people, don't let me making it look easy on film fool you. It is ridiculously hard.
Man, just the principle of the fact that you pushing and controlling the kind of weight that you are is evidence that it's not easy, that it's hard, because average person and even a lot of strong people can't do what you do. So, I mean, man, I certainly don't downplay it. Wow,
yeah, but no, I always give that heads up to people, man. I'm telling you,
it's twice as
hard. It's twice as, but it's the risk reward thing. I love it because the risk is relatively low. The reward is tremendous. You just got to go into it and be able to take the ego down a couple, because it's not, like I said, people I get so many people that come to the gym and they try to throw on weight over there, and I'm like, and they're like, oh, I must be having an off day. I'm like, no, I just make it look extremely easy.
Yeah, pretty much. Initially, I'm trying to think. When I asked you about the most influential person in your life, did you say your ex-wife in terms of the friendship and the partnership that you guys have in business? Was that the answer to that question?
She's one. I would say I don't really have anybody that's like super influential. I'm more of a calculated person. I don't really make a lot of decisions in business or otherwise on some knee jerk, like spur of the moment.
No, of course not. Sure.
You know, I let it resonate. There's people I will bounce stuff off. I like Julius. I'll bounce a lot of business ideas off of Julius. My partners at Big Techs, I bounce a lot of, obviously, I don't bounce ideas off them. We have a collaboration of meetings of the minds. But, you know, there's people I will bounce stuff off to, or I'll put it in their ear. But I kind of have a vision for what I want things to be years out. And then it's just a matter of, for me, sticking to the program and sticking to the process. Like, I've known I wanted to own a gym for a while now. So I make sure my daily routine is in alignment with becoming the person that's going to be in a position to be a gym owner. You know, I think you have to, like I said, personify the teaching and acquire the attributes needed to become that person. So in the process, it's not as easy as people like, oh, I'm just going to stack up some money and then don't know. There's levels to it. Just like anything, you have to like put yourself around people that have common interests and common goals. So you can graduate to that level. So when you get it, you don't squander it. It just doesn't go to the wayside because you've learned how to acquire it, and more importantly, you've learned how to maintain and to retain it as well.
Sure. Do you have a favorite collaboration that you've done? And do you have a collaboration that you'd like to do? And when I say collaboration, I mean, like, for an example, what you did with Strength Cartel and CT Fletcher, or anybody else out there that you may have had a collab with, even like that have been comical. I know you posted some things on your IG that were humorous.
I've always liked the stuff I've done with Julius. I like the stuff what I did with NDO. I think they're so different and unique in so many different aspects. I don't think I could just say this one over this one. I like a lot of the early content I did with Chris Duffin. I really, really like, because I've always looked at Chris Duffin, you know, the mad scientist, Kabuki strength. I looked at him as a mentor because I love that he could do the physical, but he could also talk to doctors and lawyers and all different walks of athletes on the cerebral side. I've always mentored my business game, I want to say, after like a Chris Duffin, because I respected him as a lifter, but I've always loved his ability to articulate what he's doing and to make it in a teachable and a monetized format through his virtual coaching, through his webinars, through everything he does. I've always respected that, you know, because there's certain people out there that I grew up and I've collaborated with that are Insta famous and they do some impressive stuff. But when it comes time to articulate what they're doing, they don't know how to. So they're only going to capture that one-dimensional type of audience. And that audience, to me, doesn't resonate well as far as spending power with a lot of companies when you go to work with them, because they're like, I've kind of worked with A, B, and C, and they have a great following, but their followers don't purchase. And I'm kind of like, I don't say it, but I'm kind of not surprised, because I'm like, well, they can't. The audience they pitch to isn't the same audience that's going to buy. They're the same audience that's going to clap, applaud, like, and be real vocal, but it's not going to carry over to have a lot of purchasing power. So for that reason, I've always liked, you know, the Kabuki strengths and some of that stuff. I think I would like to do more stuff in the future. Like you said, you brought up, I like the collaboration with Big Boy, although to be technical, it wasn't the kind of collaboration I would want to do. And I'm not saying it on some funny stuff. I'm saying
of course not.
A sense. No, let me clarify that, because I know someone will take this out of context. I liked everybody I worked with. However, the format wasn't a true collaboration. It was like, Big Boy and Strength Cartel, they did all their filming in like an hour. And then I did my filming over here. He didn't touch bench press or incline. I didn't touch deadlift. It was just film of here, film of this, and it was put together in one video.
Oh,
so
okay.
It wasn't like when I do stuff with like Andy O, or when I went up and did stuff with Monster Michael Todd in the arm wrestling. That to me was a true collaboration. He showed me some stuff. I showed him some stuff.
Absolutely. Okay, I get it.
His element. You know what I'm saying? So if I would have went back to Iron Addicts and did some deadlifting with some instructional pointers from, you know, Big Boy, and then if Big Boy would have jumped on the incline with some, you know, that would have been, in the sense of the word, that would have been a true collaboration between us, and something that I would like. So with that being said, he has a great following, a great platform. He's a great teacher, a great student, great athlete. I would like to do more of that kind of content with a person like Big Boy. But I think I love doing collaborations. I'll tell young people that's where it's at. If you want to grow your following, you have to be able to go out there and do collaborations. And I love the whole, people will tell you, if you get behind the scenes with me, I'm very methodical. Like, I will plan out everything that's orchestrated to a T. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's done spur of the moment, but it's all like thought up. I'll take 20 minutes to plan out, execute, tell people, okay, you stand here, you do this, you do that. Like, a lot of people think, like, when I went to the gym and I had my boy Arash do a backflip off the 605 incline where I paused, and they thought that just happened spur of the moment. I was like, no, you can only pause 605 for 5 seconds. Here's the thing people don't realize: you only get so many takes when you're doing some epic lifts like that. Like, at Metroflex, we did the plank one, and I think out of all the videos I did that I was the proudest of, that was the one I was probably the proudest of. That till this day, I don't think got enough recognition. I think it was at Metroflex. We had 135 on the incline, and I had Gabriel, one of the dudes who's got the best planking acrobatic like strengths in the world. Dude did three plank push-ups on in a handstand on an incline while I was benching the incline.
Wow.
So dude was doing a handstand and dipping and doing push-ups with his feet up in the air, did 3 of them while I was letting the incline come down and then go up. So I'm not only stabilizing 135, I got a grown man on there doing push-ups from a handstand position.
Right. I think I seen that. Was that on your IG?
LeRoy, it's way back. I can you can go to just type in LeRoy Walker and Coach Gabe on YouTube.
Because I think I seen it, because I wouldn't mind reposting that one on my IG, because that if I'm remembering, if it's the one I'm thinking it was, that was very impressive, man.
Yeah, and until this day, out of all the stuff I've done, I'm like say for example, I did one a couple weeks with my partners. I was doing some band work, and my friend's girl walked past, and she kind of interrupted the video, and she walked past again, so I just let it go. That shit got like 4 million views. I'm like, how did that get 4 million views? And then I'm doing something that no one's ever gonna really duplicate the push-ups and the handstand on the incline. But yeah, that does like 30,000. This one does 4 million.
What the?
Well, you know what? But you know what, LeRoy? Something I found to be true, and I'm sure you've experienced it too, is when it comes to everybody loves looking at a pretty girl or a stereotypically attractive girl and food. So you had an attractive woman in the video, man. So 9 times out of 10, that probably played a part. You know what I mean? Food, pretty girls and food, people love to look at.
Well, there was another one. There was one I did in CTs where I had 2 girls planking on the end of the incline bar. And that one, for whatever reason, I thought that one would have went viral for sure. You know, I did like 20 reps with 2 girls, and they was both like 160, 170 pound girls.
I remember that. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It did good, but it didn't do like I thought it would have. But it is what it is.
Yeah, no doubt. It doesn't stop the show. That's for definite sure. When you went to college, what did you major in?
Political science and a minor in history.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. You read a lot, huh?
I love to read. Love to read. Love all that. I'm a student. I love to read. Yeah.
I can tell by how you talk. I can tell by your speech and that how you a man. That's good stuff. Good stuff, to put it mildly. In terms of getting in contact with you, in terms of showing you support, give me everything you got so people can do that. In terms of what on Facebook, what on, of course I know your IG, but tell the people on IG, on Facebook, everything that they can do to get in contact with you.
I think just pretty much just IG. Facebook, Facebook, you can just go to I think LeRoy Walker. It's not even a real IG. Facebook, here's when you get with certain companies, they're gonna tell you have to have a Facebook page to promote different reviews and different stuff. So I only started my Facebook page, which is really what I call like a landing pad. It's a landing pad for my IG content. I post on IG, it automatically carries over to Facebook. But as far as like family, friends, like it weirds me out to this day. I go to Expo and people come up, hey man, how you doing, Machine? Whoop, whoop. I'm like, I'm good. How you doing? Thank you. They're like, we're friends. I'm like, do we go to school together? And like, nah, dog.
On Facebook.
And because Facebook caps you like 5,000 people.
Right.
So you got to start like a fans or whatever. And so I did it. But and I'm not trying to be like, it's only 5,000 people. In algorithm terms, it's not a lot. But, I saw someone post something the other day, like, if you're mad or upset with me, then you should be able to talk to me or call me. If you can't call me and we can't talk about it, then we ain't really friends enough for you to really have a problem with me.
That's a good one.
And that's kind of how I feel about as far as like this social media phase, when people hit me with the, well, dog, why you dog? We're cool on Facebook. I was like, I don't talk to anybody on Facebook.
Right. Right. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I've stayed away from it more lately because someone hacked something through IG Messenger. Yeah. So I had to take off all my Messenger. And to me, someone's like, oh man, aren't you bothered? I'm like, no, because my real people who know me, they will never message me on Facebook anyways.
Right.
They have my number. They know how to get a hold of me.
Pretty much. So your IG is how people would get in contact with you.
Yeah, I 100% IG, man. Or they can go to TikTok. I think TikTok is LW the Machine too.
Do you do your consulting where people can hire you for that, or how do you still do that? Because this is the first time I heard you talk about it with the consulting, with the consultation.
You know what I do, but it's kind of like I do that. I like to do the consulting. I still do consulting. I still do stuff like, but a lot of it's been lesser because of travel, and it hasn't been where my passion's at. Just like the coaching, I still have 3 or 4 guys that are like riders that I told them anytime they come back I tell all my students, I go, if you come back to me, I'll always take you on as a client. But however, I don't put it out there and advertise it as much because I'm not trying to gain clients. Because if I have clients, I want to give 110% attention to them. With me being in the middle of a training cycle and still being a competitor, I put more of my energy into that. So I'll still maintain the clients I have. I'm just not trying to go out there and like my normal rotation is 20 to 30 clients. That's too big of a client hold for me to handle the way I want to and still compete, because I still do everything hands-on. I don't outsource my programming to someone else. I still write everybody's individual program and coaching.
Wow. Okay. You spoke a little, it is. Earlier, you said how you still struggle with things of nutrition. How so? I mean, just food is good and it's accessible. So, a lot of people do. So
it's good. When I say a struggle with it is I've had to, I don't have like an eating disorder. I don't have any of that. It's been a discipline. I think so much has to be attributed to discipline. I wanted to do and be A, B, and C, but I wasn't disciplined of myself to do the stuff I needed to on a daily basis to reach those goals. Everybody wants the 6-pack, but nobody wants to give up the 6-pack. If that, not saying I'm
makes all or anything. No, I know what you mean.
You get what I'm saying. So
absolutely,
I really just had to and a lot of it, like I said, is this comprehension. Like you go to the store or whatever, and say you're on lunch break, and you go and you get yourself the little 12-inch or turkey coat, whatever it is. You think because you're eating healthy that's enough, when you really got to be able to break down macros and understand why you're eating what you are. You got to have comprehension and understand why you're doing what you do. And I didn't really have comprehension. I was just kind of old school, like, okay, before I have a heavy lift, let me go carb up and do all this other stuff, not understanding that you need to have smaller meals throughout the day. And I mean, I knew about it, but I wasn't applying it. So I think sometimes when you know something and don't apply it, it's almost worse than not knowing at all. Because ignorance is bliss. So with myself, I've had to discipline myself, not for making bad food choices, but reinforcing doing what I'm doing for eat for purpose instead of eating for pleasure. And I've been a lot more on top of that lately, because I realized that that I didn't realize how much of an impact great nutrition makes on the lifting side, because I've been able to lean out, eat better, eat more often, lean out and get stronger. And so when I first started getting with Kushner Fitness, the people that I'm working with now, I was like, man, how am I going to get stronger? And I'm almost on Sundays at a calorie deficit. They're like, don't think of it as a calorie deficit. Think of it as you're cutting out the bullshit that you didn't eat anyways.
Right. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So yes, technically from like, say, a 6,000 calorie down to 4,000, yes, it's a calorie deficit. But out of that 4,000, I'm getting everything that's 100% efficient for me, versus I didn't need that bullshit bread that was on that bullshit sandwich that I didn't need. In fact, that's the easiest way to kind of sum it up.
Okay, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
Would you generally, when we have people on, man, we ask them to give words of wisdom. You've given an abundance of wisdom in the interview as a whole, but give us some more.
I would just say, believe in yourself, man. Just believe in yourself. Have a plan, and then work the plan. It is so important to have. I think the word of the day, I'd say, stick to itiveness.
Nice.
Stick to itiveness, and everything you do, have some motherfucking stick to itiveness.
Nice. Hi, you got something for him?
Man, that was good. I just want to say, LeRoy, thank you for your time today, sir. And it's been a pleasure.
Hey, you know what? I appreciate you guys so much.
Hey, man, yeah, most definitely. Thanks a lot, LeRoy. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
Enjoy your day. Stay safe. Keep up the good work.
Hey, I am. Hey, stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that 235 tonight.
You already know we are.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right, good brother. Thanks again, man.
All right.
See ya.